When Richie first came home from his first meeting with the team for the pilot, I was like, that's a dumb idea. That'll never work. But the Lord's done so much with it. And I think because he is a God of joy and a God of laughter, and we're just really excited to see how that'll continue to grow. And we agree with Barnum and their studies that people would like to laugh.
Welcome once again to Life Off Screen. I'm Dan Ruppel. This is my wife, Peggy Ruppel. Peg, it's good to have you with me.
I know.
I've done the last few shows by myself.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back, and you bring so much to the festivities. We have another married couple that's going to be with us. We've met this young couple. They were engaged. They weren't even married, and we've developed a wonderful friendship. I'm talking about Richie and Bethany Johns. I used to introduce them and say, these are up and coming filmmakers.
Yeah.
I can't say that anymore. They're very established. They've done some wonderful work, and we're going to get into the details of it. But you might have seen Promised Land. It's a mockumentary, very funny, very entertaining, and then a very serious, powerful movie called Still Hope.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into each of those two films. And they've done other works too, and they've got a lot more ahead of them.
What is remarkable about this interview is you're going to enjoy this young couple who are both humble and teachable, and they have just dove in headfirst on all the opportunities that God gave them. And it is so beautiful to see the fingerprints of God and how they've maximized every opportunity. You'll learn a lot and be inspired.
That's right. So let's just jump right in. Welcome, Richie and Bethany. It's so good to see you guys.
Thank you. It's great to see y'all.
Yeah, it's been a few months,
Been a little bit,
yeah.
Earlier in the year, so
yes.
And you guys have been busy. We're super excited to unpack everything you've done, but we thought we'd back it up a little bit and just go back and remember the day we got to first meet you. Remember that day? Young couple, engaged, you weren't even married yet, but you had the foresight to say, we're going to go to the ICVM conference. And so we saw you just sitting alone at a table. This young couple,
for breakfast.
Like, let's go sit with those guys.
Yeah,
we loved it. Yeah, it's ICBM has been so special for my journey, and even like because the first one I went to, I didn't even know Bethany, and so like a lot of like the ICBM community has seen kind of my journey as a filmmaker, and even just personally to like go, and then and then Bethany came for a couple, I think that or maybe at least one that we were engaged. And now when we go back, it's fun. It's a family reunion. But yeah, we'd remember that dinner that we had, or lunch or something. It was a meal. I know we sat.
I can't remember.
Yeah, sat down together and talked and got to know. Got to get to know you guys, and it's been beautiful.
Yes, it has been great.
Yeah.
And how many years ago was that? Would that have been? You were engaged.
20...
I was hoping you weren't going to ask because I can't remember.
2019, I think.
Yeah.
2019 sounds right. Yeah.
But we could see, even at that time, you guys were hungry for just to learn, to be around people, sponges. But there's this humility about you, and super excited. And it's like when we see young people that are like what we call paying attention, it's just like they just got their antennas up.
Yeah.
We just know God's going to direct them. And you were real prayerful about the projects you wanted. You kind of knew where you wanted to go. But I loved it. You literally an open slate at that point.
Yeah. But it wasn't just film. It just, we saw you as a young couple that's starting out in a married life. And, and we've been married so long, we're getting close to 50 years.
Wow.
And so we just so enjoyed kind of helping you, or I won't say helping, but at least talking with you during that journey early on, and continue. We always have a standing date to have dinner or lunch or something every one of the conventions. So it's a real joy.
We saw ourselves in you because that's when we started together, when we were in, right before we met, and then we were engaged. At that point, I was all in. I didn't have a background in entertainment whatsoever. So I think we share that, Bethany, huh?
Yes. I at that ICBM, I think I went just because Richie was like, I want to make movies. And I was like, how in the world does that even happen? And he was like, I'm going to go to this conference. And I was like, I guess I should probably learn like what in the world he wants to do with his life, or at least like enough to understand it, even if it's not something I'm going to participate in actively. And Man, just it's been a whirlwind ever since. I don't know if you would have told us at that meal like where we would be now, I think we would have just laughed and been like, yeah, like Dan and Peggy are crazy. Like that'll
Well,
never
you got that part right.
happen.
No, it has been a blessing because like I think it's often hard to fully grasp for people that aren't in the industry or even, just work together, some of the challenges and the different dynamics, and also just income being project by project based or like those kind of things. It's
Yeah.
it's been great to have wonderful people in our lives, that get it and understand it and have been able to walk alongside and celebrate with us, and mentor us. So
Right.
yeah, looking back, we always look forward to the next time we can have one of our lunches together. So
That's
Right.
right. That's
We do
right.
too. Richie, when did kind of the film bug bite you? When was it? Really young or teenager or what?
yeah, oh, I grew up with the home video camera in my hands. I have one sister, Hannah. We're only 15 months apart, so she's younger than I am. And growing up, she was always my test subject. And we were always making goofy little short films. And I remember my first Canon DSLR camera. I'd take it to church with me, and just kind of film whatever was going on, whether it was Palm Sunday or youth group
Hmm.
events.
Hmm.
And I'd kind of go back and edit the footage together and try to make a story or a recap video or put it to music and kind of taught myself how to edit. And so even from an early age, like goofy little short films with my sister where who done it type mystery, that that we're kind of going through all the way through high school. And yeah, always love storytelling, being creative. And that led me to the first film that I ever did when I was in high school. And that was actually the first ICVM I went to. Was I was
Wow.
trying to get it on DVD, and was trying to get connections. And my sister also was an actress in that. And terrible quality, don't look it up. But like from that moment, it was very formative of it's my senior year in high school, and at that point, it was like a confirmation that like, okay, this is
Yeah.
what I'm supposed to do with my life. So yeah, I very early on knew that that was supposed to, communicate the gospel through film and television.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And not the gospel part, but that's how Spielberg started.
Yeah.
When he was a little kid, he started making home movies and his family was the
Mhm.
characters. And,
Mhm.
he showed in the documentary about him just, kind of all these violent things against his little
Yeah.
sister and stuff like that, because he
Yep.
wanted, oh, we need to fight, but
Yes,
that's how you
literally, there's
start, trial and
footage
error.
like that, very similar. So
And
Yeah.
one day these old films are going to be part of your retrospective of your
Yeah.
career.
I'll have to keep those locked away for
Yeah.
now.
Know where they're at.
There's something.
About when did you first meet and how did you know this Bethany girl was the one?
In fact, I actually don't really have any recollection of like meeting Richie for the first time. When I don't know, maybe it was when we were engaged. Someone asked us. They were like, "Oh, how'd you meet?" And like I like sat there and I was like, "Actually, I don't know." So it's really Richie's story to tell.
Yeah, I remember it. So we met in college. We went to a private Christian university in Ohio, and Bethany was a year ahead of me. And it was my freshman year, that kind of first weekend of college. And I remember like there was a friend group. I'm an extrovert. I'm social butterfly. I was like, I'm going to meet everybody in college. And I recognized one of the guys in the friend group that I'd known from like a church event, from a previous summer and everything. And so I was catching up with him, and finally eventually kind of met the friend group, and it came around to Bethany. And typically like, what's your major, and what are you studying? Well, the first interaction was kind of awkward because Bethany was a math major actually. And I was like, oh, so do you want to teach? And she's like, no, I don't want to teach, I don't like kids. And I'm like, oh, she doesn't like kids. Like, this girl needs Jesus or something. And then I realized she came from a big family. She doesn't want to teach. She's, ended up majoring in math and double minored in computer science and finance. So way smarter than me. And I'm over here like, I want to make movies. Then I kind of disappeared for a little bit because I was in the fall play. Then kind of reconnected around like Christmas time or like towards the end of the semester. And then she started saving a seat for me in chapel, and the rest is history.
Ah,
Whoa,
okay.
that's a tell. Yeah.
So
But here, you were on the amazing thing is look at what God brought you.
yeah.
Brought you a producer.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing people, I don't think realize too of like, well, I mean, Bethany's superpower is project management. The goal even like when we started our production company, like so, kind of fast forward to like towards the end of college, we actually literally when we formed Studio 523, our production company in the college cafeteria, everybody assumes like 523 is like a scripture or what Bible verse is it? It's actually our anniversary, May 23rd. So I'd never forget our anniversary. But the goal was always like, oh, okay, maybe like 8 years after we're married, 10 years, like, we might be able to a point that we can do it together. But the plan really out of the gate was, Bethany was going to support us, with a job, and I was going to try to keep networking and making connections and hopefully get to the point where we can, financially do it together. But it happened actually a lot faster than we thought.
And we weren't financially ready.
No.
Yeah.
It was a big step out in faith.
What a perfect pairing. You can see the hand of God in what you do now, because the best filmmaking team, going back to Walt and Roy Disney, is one who's the creative madman,
Yeah.
and then the other who is more business sense, knows numbers, knows budgets, know how to manage a crew, because you need that. I always tell young students, realize it's show business, 2 words.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing that God put together in a creative and a very pragmatic. Yeah.
I will admit, Richie, and that's Richie's superpower. Like Richie is a vision caster. If you know anything about strength finders, like one of his top strengths is woo, which is winning others over. And it's actually it's a point of frustration. Sometimes of like, I'll be talking to a vendor, I'll be talking to someone and trying to negotiate something, and the answer is always no. It's no, no, no. And Richie will be like, well, have you done this? I'm like, Richie, like, I've had this conversation with them 4 times, like, they're not gonna budge. And Richie's like, well, let me hop on the phone. And 15 minutes later, he's like, oh, I got what we wanted and more. And I'm like, I hate you. And so it is funny, like looking back, in a lot of ways, we're very similar people, but in other ways, we're very, very different. But those differences really elevate each other's strengths, which is not, I don't think we really understood what that meant or appreciated that for the first few years of our marriage. But looking back on it, you're so right. Like it's not anything of our own doing, for sure.
Well, tell us about the filmmaking aspect. Well, what was the hardest thing for you to tackle? Especially, I'm thinking too, Bethany, you coming in as a young woman,
Right.
producer.
That's a good question. I think for me, so I come from the software world. That's where I landed after school. And so when we did a feature in 2023, and I had quit my job about a year before that. I'm sure we'll get back to that story, because that only happened because the Lord was very clear in what our next steps were. And so, but we got this call about this feature. It's called Still Hope. You can watch it on Angel now, but we were babies when we made it, and really we got a call to produce it together, and I was all on board with that. So we agreed to produce this feature together, and then the EP kind of threw a curveball at us and asked Richie to direct it, and that was not anything we were anticipating or expecting or really thinking through. And at this point we're like, oh shoot, like can I, one, it's a huge opportunity for him. He like directing is something he's wanted to do from day one, but also like I've never produced a movie, let alone produced a movie by myself. Like, and it was low budget. We didn't really have a lot of money to bring in much of a larger team. And so I think that was like the first biggest hiccup for me of like, usually, people start at the bottom and you work your way up and you learn all the things. I had the skill set. I have the skill set. But it was just learning how to apply that skill set in a different industry and learning how to be able to communicate with people in a language that they understand, but also understanding like what is a normal expectation like for certain roles and what does each job, what are they supposed to like encompass and do. And so that was probably my biggest hurdle like from the beginning?
Because at that point, like I directed like small things like shorts or, nothing of that scale or magnitude. I didn't even have a director's reel. Like I kind of gotten to the point where I was like, okay, like I love producing. Because uh after like just making movies at home, like I started working on real sets, and started mostly assistant directing, like first AD. Like I kind of worked my way up and figured out SAG, and I loved logistics and coordination, and started producing, some other things. Had done a pilot episode that I was the lead producer on. So like, kind of working my way up. And so like directing came out of nowhere. And so, for me, there's nobody I trust more than Bethany. And so for me, it was like a natural, like we kind of went in with wide eyes and, it's like, oh, this is going to be great. And a little overconfident in some areas and learned so much. But I think that was the biggest thing when we went through that process, or other friends or other filmmakers like, hey, how can I pray for you? The biggest thing I'd ask for was like compartmentalization, was like, and that's the biggest thing I had to learn through that process was, okay, I'm still a producer, right? Like we're the two producers, we're figuring out the logistics together, right? Have to make quick decisions. So I'm still a producer, but I'm director, right? Telling the story, but then still husband. And so like the three different boxes, like coming home at night, like how do you put away producer director and still be husband and wife? And but naturally, right, like the producer is protecting the budget, the director is telling the story, so at times there's disagreements, and so how do we navigate that? And we did some the right way, others like, okay,
We made a lot of
sh-
mistakes. Yeah.
we should have handled that conversation differently. And it was challenging. It was really hard. The hardest project that we've ever done. And looking back, it's made me though a better filmmaker. It's made me a better producer for the bigger budget things that we've done since. Like learned so much through that season. In the next, whatever the next projects end up being, like, we like I trust, if I'm given the opportunity to direct again, like I want Bethany a part of the producing team. Obviously, we've learned the lesson, like you need a bigger team. We were both wearing
Yes.
so many hats with that one. But like having somebody you trust with your life backing you up and knowing that you're going to be supported well. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it was a learning process getting there, but challenging for sure.
Right. Let's talk about Still Hope. You
Beautiful
mentioned it
film.
a few times. We saw it with you, Bethany, at ICVM, and boy, we were talking about ICVM a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so powerful. If anyone's not familiar with it, it's a teenage girl who's forced into human trafficking, and it is told so beautifully, and powerfully. And how did that project come about? Did somebody bring a script, or how did it start?
It was 2023. And it was during, SAG was striking, WGA was striking, and I couldn't get hired on anything. We just had this gap on this calendar that we're like, okay, God, we were getting to this point of like, we're gonna have to figure something out financially. And then all of a sudden, through a friend of a friend of a friend, said, hey, there's this group of filmmakers in Missouri. They're looking for producers to come on to this project. They've been developing it for a while, and we're kind of stuck in the mud a little bit. And the executive producer was like, "Hey, I want some outside voices to come in and kind of take over." And so that's what we interviewed for. We were going to produce together, and really connected with the story, connected with the filmmakers. Had to kind of take some steps back and tell them like, okay, like we need to kind of restructure some things with the budget and kind of get a clean slate. But we had this window that the EP wanted to shoot in, or he's like, the movie isn't happening. And so from the time that we were hired, 9 weeks later, cameras were rolling. And in that 9 weeks, we rewrote the script. And so brought on a new writer to work with the original team and kind of polish it. And had began, casting and crewing up. And the good news was, and that's where Bethany did a lot of the work, was nothing else was shooting. And so the movie looks way better than it really should, because gear wise, like
I'd get on phone calls with vendors for like gear and I'd be like, this is the list that my team's given me that I need, like what's the cost? And they would tell me, well, what can you pay us? And I would say like, well, I know you would probably make this, but I'm gonna offer it down here. And they would give it to me down here
because nothing else
because
is
nothing
filming.
else was filming. And so these vendors just wanted anything that they could get. And so it was an incredibly stressful period. Just that's a lot to do in 9 weeks. But looking back on it, I don't know, the film would not be what it was if we hadn't been able to do it in that time period.
Hmm.
And so people all the time, they're like, they think it's, 3, 5 times what we spent on it. And so we're very proud of it. But it was one of those situations where we were like, God, like, we don't know what's going on here. But you've got to show up in some way. Otherwise, like, we're gonna have to go find some other work.
God just kind of kept opening the doors, and there were more confirmation of like, okay, like this is a project that we can get behind, and started to
Mhm.
getting connected with the people behind it, and
Right.
connecting with Catherine Lee, who is the founder of Pure Hope Foundation. And so that's where the true stories came from that inspired Hope's journey, and connected with them and the other organizations that eventually became a part of the project. It's looking back, it was such a whirlwind, but now we have lifelong friends that.
Yeah, Still Hope really, I mean, it changed our lives like
Mhm.
radically.
And I know it's changing the lives of a lot of people who see it.
Yes.
And the
It's
thing
so
I won't say
exciting.
we loved most about the movie, but was so perfect was what you just mentioned, Richie. At the end, you have those 800 numbers and websites, etc., of where you can get help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're building this case, and you're just tearing our hearts apart. And it's like, but I can't do anything about it.
Right.
It's like, so having that just gave it an incredible purpose to it. Okay, I'm going to switch polar opposites. Now we're going to talk about a comedy mockumentary on the Book of Exodus.
Yeah.
How did Promised Land come about?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, everybody's like, oh, because they're completely different projects, but they're both kind of intertwined in the story of kind of like the timeline of how it all happened. Yeah, so we'll back up. Promised Land. It's the first project. Like Promised Land is our baby. Promised Land, I been working on since 2021. First project, producing officially. You talk about Roy and Walt Disney. For that project, I'm the business. Like every single cent I've raised, and I've been the business of trying to figure out what's independent TV look like. And so the business partner for that is Mitch Hudson. He is the creative, the visionary, so funny, and such a talented writer. And yeah, basically early on, it was like, okay, what about the story of Moses, but what if it's told in a mockumentary setting, right? So we like to say it's the original workplace sitcom, right? So
Right.
Moses and the Israelites wandering in the desert, but it's like The Office, Parks and Rec. But I'd say it feels more like a modern comedy now, right? More like Ted Lasso or Shrinking, that you come for the laughs, but it has a lot of heart. And so yeah, very early on, we were super scrappy. Bethany was really just kind of supporting, did a lot of like the books, like we did it together, right? Like that is not my skill set is accounting. And so we did it together, shot the pilot episode in the fall of 2022. Out in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and it was super scrappy. We partnered with local churches, and other ministries, and had free background, and it was very very grassroots. But we, yeah, shot the pilot episode over the course of a week. Had gotten a little over $100,000, and most of it went to cast
Food.
and food and hard costs. And we had a lot of other friends that were filmmakers that, hey, come out to New Mexico, for a week, and let's do it together. And it's just grown from there. From that, actually, in between the first episode and the rest of season one of The Promised Land is when we did Still Hope. The find for season one of The Promised Land came from connections from Still Hope. And so, like, God knew what he was doing. He orchestrated it more, better than I could have ever planned. It's like, okay, God, like, not how I originally planned, but here we are. And so we did season one. in the fall of 2024, and had a proper budget for that. Did 5 more episodes. And that's now out to the world. You can watch it on YouTube. It's still currently free on YouTube. You can also watch it on Angel. And what's exciting is that season 2 is in the works, and we've been working on that. And so that's been really exciting as well. The biggest piece of the Promised Land is all along the way, there's been a lot of no's, especially from the early years of pitching. It's like, okay, well, Christian comedy won't work. It hasn't had something of this scale. The franchise of 40 total episodes, is the goal, right? And we have an idea for a movie. We have a big plan and big dreams. And there were a lot of no's of, okay, well, maybe come back when you're older, or you need to, attach more of a named or known showrunner, or bring on some people with more experience. But Mitch and myself, and now Bethany handles all of our marketing, and that's really been the biggest piece. Is we've had to prove that there's an audience that will watch this show, right? Like, they grew up on Veggie Tales, and now a lot of faith media isn't made for a younger 25 to 45 year old demographic, and so we've had to prove it. And so we put the pilot free on YouTube. We put season 1 free on YouTube, and we've been building an audience that is hungry and wants more of the Promised Land.
Well, it's amazing, and that audience has grown to 17 million total views so far on all those platforms, right? So you have a tremendous audience. So remarkable. Of course, it's our love, and this is where we this is where we carved out our career, was in comedy. And we were told at the time too, what we were doing, what Dan was doing with Isaac Air Freight was not going to fly. And 8 hours albums later, 150 syndicated radio shows later, that was the first 15 years of our marriage. That's when he toured. So was this
paved the way for us.
It was awesome.
In many ways, we did, because comedy was suspicious to the church, and we were really fortunate because Chuck Smith, and we really echoed what you saw in Jesus Revolution. Just as Chuck opened the church to rock and roll music, 7 years later, we came along and he opened the church to comedy. The first church we played was Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. And then he got on the phone, and along with Greg Laurie, and he called churches all up and down the West Coast and said, you got to have these guys. They're really funny. They love the Lord. They're biblically based, and that really opened the door where we could start touring the West Coast. And then it branched out, and then they signed us to a record deal. And, that went on to sell about 500,000 records, which was kind of unheard of way back in 77. So, we've discovered the church was hungry for comedy. And a recent poll, I don't know if I told you this, Richie, when we were having lunch, but Barna just did a survey of Gen Z of what are they missing in the films they're watching. And the number 2 at 31% of the audience said comedy. We want comedy.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So,
love those stats.
They're really hungry for it. And we know how robust the young generation is in watching media. So that's terrific.
And even with Dan Lin, what his quote?
Oh yeah, Dan Lin, president of Netflix Film, said he's all in on new production and comedies. So now's the time.
I think that's the thing about comedy, of like, we say that all the time with the Promised Land, of like, like, we want you to laugh, but like, we want you to laugh together. Like, I think that's the beautiful thing about comedy in our world, where it feels really negative and heavy sometimes, like, especially like when you're able to laugh with people, like, community is formed and bonds are formed. And I just think it's always been a little bit mind-boggling to me that the church has been so hesitant to laugh. We should be people of laughter and of joy.
Absolutely.
And so we are very thankful for, we call them our tribes with the Promised Land, our fans and our following. They're our tribes. And we use that language very intentionally, of like, we want the Promised Land to feel like a community. We want you to feel like you're a part of something when you watch it. And I have loved, like, we get so many emails and so many comments, like, just about the joy and the laughter and the relationships that the Promised Land is building. And we're hopeful, God's already done way more with it than I think we really thought when we first stepped out into this.
Yeah.
Way more than I thought. When Richie first came home from his first meeting with the team for the pilot, I was like, that's a dumb idea, that'll never work. And so like unfortunately, I will claim I was the first no. But the Lord's done so much with it, and I think because he is a God of joy and a God of laughter, and we're just really excited to see how that'll continue to grow. And we agree with Barna and their studies that people would like to laugh.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm writing an article on it right now called "Is Comedy Making a Comeback?" And I talk about Barna and I talk about what's going on. But to your point, Bethany, God said through Solomon, that it's like a medicine.
Right.
It's good for the soul. And we feel that. We know medical studies say, oh, what it does to the human body, laughter in releasing stress, and just it does amazing endorphins and etc. But also it really connects to community. You walk into a party and you see people in a corner laughing.
Yep.
And there's two things you want to know immediately. One, are they laughing at me? did I wear the wrong clothes, or what's going on here? But you're instantly, it's like drawn to that. It's like, what are they laughing about? I want to be in on the joke. I want to know what's going on. And it's really a wonderful way of connection. And that's partly why we enjoy comedy more sitting in a crowded theater, or maybe even at our home with a bunch of friends, as opposed to just alone.
It heightens the experience.
So what draws you to a project? We've talked about
that's a good question.
Comedy. We've talked about a very serious movie. What kind of things do you look for in a project?
I didn't know that like you might have an exact list in your head. I don't really have an exact list in my head, but I think for me, because like when we got married, he wanted to do this film thing, and I didn't like. I kind of understood it, but I also didn't really get it. And we were from Ohio. Like I was like, people from Ohio don't make movies. Like it's just is not a reality.
A lot of filmmakers are from Ohio.
They so actually
just leave Ohio.
They just leave.
Leave Ohio.
But it was during COVID, we had just gotten married, and Just Mercy was kind of making its rounds. I don't know if you guys remember this season, but
yeah, we saw it at Sundance.
Right.
Yeah, like, and it was just everyone was talking about it on like the social platforms, and so we were like, yeah, we'll sit down and watch this movie, and we sat there, and that movie ended, and it's a phenomenal film. I mean, it is a heartbreaking film, but it is just phenomenal. And Richie, at the end of it, he was like, those are the types of movies I want to make. And it was like a light bulb went off. And I was like, I get it now. And this, I think, is the reality for most of our generation of like, when he was like, I want to be a Christian filmmaker, I was like thinking through all the Christian films, and I was like, they're great and they've paved the way for us, but they're not made for us. Like they're not made for our generation. We don't connect to them. And for me, I was like, I don't get it. But that movie, it has so many faith elements in it, even though it's not, an explicitly faith film. But when he said that, I was like, I get it now. So without like having a tangible list, I think it's a movie or it's a project that makes you feel something that's real and authentic. And that can be something as heavy as like dealing with sex trafficking and these topics of like hope and healing and restoration in the midst of like immense trauma. But then it can also be something like Promised Land that like you come for the laughs, but like you're crying by the end of it. And it's not because you're crying because you're sad, but because you're feeling something that like just warms your soul so much. And so I think for me, like that would be my answer of like when I read a project and I'm like, the people feel real, the situations feel real, my emotions feel real. That is what I'm gravitated towards, whether or not it's explicitly faith-based.
For Studio 523, and going back to Just Mercy or like other films that like have really inspired me, I think it all comes back to like inspiring hope. That's literally our mission for Studio 523 is we want to tell stories that inspire hope. The company behind The Promised Land, like Milk and Honey Studios, is our brand new kind of company that we've created, and the goal for that is to tell stories that are fun and fulfilling. And so, right, like that's kind of the secret sauce of The Promised Land, if you will. And so we have a lot of ideas are for projects and series that kind of fit within that banner. I think the stories that I feel called to direct, I think that's the thing for me is like my answers are different for producing and directing, right? Like I actually won't direct an episode of The Promised Land. Like that is, I like to think sometimes I'm funny in like these conversations, but not like on screen. Like I like the producing aspects of those worlds. I think I love telling very heartfelt, pretty much always dramas for like what I want to direct, kind of tear-jerking dramas just have great messages. It's like, man, like I'm feeling something.
Well, it has been a real joy to have a front row seat on your guys' career and your marriage, from before you were married, before you were really doing much, and where God is taking you. And we know that God has got a lot more in store for you guys. We love you, and it's always a joy whenever we can have lunch or dinner, whatever we do at one of the conferences. And it's been great to talk to you guys today also.
Yeah, we love the work of the Lord over your life, and we just bless it in Jesus' name.
Thank you so much. It's been such a joy for us to get to know you guys. For you all to take time. A lot of people want to talk to you at all these things. And it's always near and dear to us when you guys are like, hey, you want to grab lunch? And we always feel so special.
Well, you are special to us.
It means a lot. And we are just so thankful for your encouragement and the words of wisdom that you've spoken over us.
Well, it's been great.
And we can't wait to see all God has in store.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This was great.
Thank you for joining us for Life Off Screen. Life Off Screen is produced by Master Media International. Our production coordinator is Nicole Spidell. Please subscribe to the Life Off Screen YouTube channel or the Life Off Screen podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment in the comment section. To find out more about Master Media or subscribe to our newsletter, visit us at mastermedia.com. Thanks again for joining us. Hope to see you next time.